The views expressed on this special broadcast of the Take 12 radio show do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. KHLT is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
A very scary experience.
You know, God is a solution. God, the 12 steps.
I like where he's going here.
Helps the community grow, helps us grow.
Monty has done a phenomenal job.
Lack of open-mindedness.
And you're talking about taking people through a spiritual process, getting them into recovery.
Thanks, Monty, and thanks for all your support.
We need spirituality to make this thing work long term.
It's an absolute pleasure. He certainly knows a lot of people.
This is one of the places that is about the business of the solution.
All right, and welcome to another fine broadcast here of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show here at take12radio.com on your internet dial. Also broadcasting on the Bill Post Radio Network. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is good to have you with us. I am excited about today's show because I'm going to be talking about a controversial issue. I don't know why it's controversial. It shouldn't be. But it is particularly amongst the recovery community, and really we can transfer this over to the faith community as well. And so if you're not in the recovery community, if you're listening on conservative talk radio at the Bill Post Radio Network, or you've just stumbled across our website, and you're not necessarily in recovery, this could very well apply to you as well. So bear with us here. What we're going to be talking about, or what I'm going to be talking about with you and sharing with you some opinions from our recovery poll on our Facebook and our website is, do meetings keep you sober? do the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, Celebrate Recovery, Recovery Life, Reformers Unanimous, and all of these, do going to meetings, is that the thing that keeps you sober? And in looking at that, what is this whole recovery deal about anyway? Is it to restore you to sobriety, or is it to restore you to sanity? These are some questions that we're going to be talking about today. And I know some of you aren't going to like what I have to say, and some of you are going to be right on board with me. But yeah, what else? What else is new, right? That's right. Hey, listen, before we get into any of that, please enter the cartoon caption contest, the recovery cartoon caption contest. Go to take12radio.com, click on recovery cartoons, and there you'll find a cartoon with no caption. And that's where you come in, right? You make up the caption. It doesn't have to be funny. Not all cartoons are funny. Some are very serious. But whatever you think the captions should be, and then there's a box right below that cartoon that has no caption, and you type in what you think the caption should be. Now, please, you also need to type in your email address and your contact information. If you just send in the caption or type in the caption and then click submit, I don't know who has submitted it. I have no way of knowing who to credit it to if we have voted for your caption and you're the winner. You could have the greatest caption in the world, but we have no way to send you the prizes. And by the way, those prizes, there's two of them. You receive a live DVD of Mark Lundholm, internationally recovery comedian Mark Lundholm's DVD, Addiction, A Comedy of Substance, as well as his bonus CD, How Is That Funny? And this guy is probably the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. He is absolutely amazing. And Mark, we're blessed to have him on our board of directors here at Take 12 Radio as well. So the Recovery Cartoon Caption Contest is sponsored by Mr. Mark Lundholm, or many of you know him as just Mark L. All right, so there that is there. Again, I want to thank the Bill Post Radio Network for bringing us on board. You can listen to this show if you're listening on his network on on Tuesday, of course, like you're doing right now, and rebroadcast. That's from 11 to noon, and then rebroadcast at 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. again. And our shows are broadcast Monday through Friday on the Bill Poster Radio Network. You can go to take12radio.com and click on the live stream banner from 11 to noon, Monday through Friday, and listen to my shows. And you can also listen to all of our podcast shows and our featured broadcasts, which is right underneath that banner at take12radio.com. We've got just an enormous amount of resources for you at the world's only faith-based recovery talk radio station, broadcasting 24/7. And then coming up also is an interview later this week with Will Cummins. He is the founder of Sober Chat. Now, Sober Chat is an app that you put on your smart device, your tablet, your phone, whatever. It is the first of its kind. It is location sensitive, GPS sensitive. So if you're located, if you're going on a business trip, or you're going to be out of town, or you're finding yourself stranded somewhere, or whatever, and you are a person that is in recovery, and you need to talk to somebody, because if you don't, you may use your drink. This app is going to plug you into somebody immediately that you can connect with. And it's going to be somebody from wherever you're at. And you can meet up with them. You can have coffee with them. They can help you get to a meeting. You can just talk. You can chat over texting with each other. Just all sorts of things. It is an amazing application. We're going to be talking about that with Will Cummins this week as well. So be looking for that. All right. Let's see. This portion of the show is sponsored by this. God, what am I? I'm just all aflutter today. Lord have mercy. Freedom Interventions. Freedom Interventions, freedominterventions.com. Matt Brown at Freedom Interventions, one of the nation's top interventionists, drug and alcohol recovery interventionists. You want to check them out at freedominterventions.com. Listen, intervention does not have to be voluntary to be effective. It doesn't. Most of us got into recovery against our will. We were either nudged by the judge, or a family member said, unless you do this, we're done. Maybe there were some circumstances that occurred because of our behaviors, and we ended up going to a meeting, a 12-step meeting or something. Most of us just didn't walk into the meeting. So that rumor that goes around within recovery communities and the world itself, that you need to want it to be able to get this thing. Well, most of us didn't want it when we walked into the rooms of recovery. We didn't. But through the hand of a loving God, we were guided into those rooms, kicking and screaming for the most part. And we got it. Many of us got it. So if you think your loved one has to, want this thing more than anything else in the world, and they've got to hit bottom and all that, that's just not true. It's just not. We can help participate. We can help support. We can help usher somebody into a recovery process. But we need to do it with professional help, not on your own. You can really muck up the waters doing it on your own. So I want you to visit freedominterventions.com and contact Matt Brown if you need an intervention, or more than likely somebody that you know needs one. Please talk to him. He would love to talk to you. It doesn't cost anything to talk to him. It really doesn't. And he'll work with you. All right? Okay. Don't go away. We'll be right back, and we're going to tackle this whole topic of does going to church make you saved? Does going to meetings keep you sober? Does attending a Rotary Club convention, does that make you a part of the Rotary Club? Come on, folks. Pull the needle out. Let's talk about this thing. What's really going on, all right? Bottom line, when it comes to sobriety, do meetings keep you sober? When we come back. Hey there, it's the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio, introducing a brand new recovery television series, Time to Heal with Pam. Breaking the Chains of Addiction. Broadcasting on Treasure Valley Community Television in Boise, Idaho. Time to Heal with Pam is a recovery talk show focused on the psychological, emotional, and spiritual aspects of addiction. Its mission, to deliver the truth that recovery from alcohol and narcotic addiction is possible. Tune in Sundays at 10 a.m. and again at 7:30 p.m., as well as Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time on Channel 11 TVC TV, Boise, Idaho. Or visit the website at tvboise.com and click on the Watch Live banner at the top of the page. Not from Idaho? No problem! Go to the YouTube channel and type in Time to Heal with Pam in the search bar. Watch all episodes 24/7. That's Time to Heal with Pam on TVC TV, Channel 11, Boise, Idaho.
He's a little crazy, but then again, you already knew that.
I got in like 3 fights when I was in grade school. All 3 of them were with the bully. You know, we all know who they are. They're always a little bit bigger, they kind of smelly, and we duke it out. And after he beat the snot out of me, I'd say, "You come back tomorrow and I'll give you more of that."
It's the Bill Post Radio Show. Bill Post Radio Show. Weekdays at noon.
Yes, indeed. Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. By the way, he's from my hometown, Petaluma, California. You guys know where Petaluma is? Anybody out there? I'm sure many of you do. Petaluma is in the news all the time. Petaluma is a hub for celebrities and people that make movies. Lots of movies made there in Petaluma. My father was the city manager in Petaluma, California for 20 years. That's a long time for a city manager. Those of you listening on the Bill Post Radio Network will understand that. You'll know what I'm talking about. Politics and that kind of thing. For a city manager to last 20 years in any city is quite remarkable, actually. My dad was a conservative Christian man, and he came up against a lot of very strange things. But we loved Petaluma. It was great. Man, I remember I got my Eagle Scout Award there, my Vigil Honor of the Order of the Arrow, raised by great folks. Went to what I believe is the greatest high school in the universe, Petaluma Senior High School. Yay, Petaluma. Yay, Trojans. And and still fell into the excuse me, the alcoholism and addiction thing. Why was that? Interesting stuff, huh? Yeah, was there trauma in my life? Yeah, there was. It happened way before I was ever adopted. I was adopted when I was 3 years old, and looking back at that, but you know what? We can get sober, we can get clean, regardless of what our past was like. You know, my inability to stop drinking and using has nothing to do with my parents raising me on the toilet backwards or something like that. Right? It has everything to do with a power greater than myself. And by the way, I just wanted to share with you guys truth about our radio station here in Albany, Oregon. We have an office and an audio booth and a station and the whole 9 yards. And we too, just like Bill Post, we have a studio dog. We actually have a studio dog and a studio cat. Nala, the studio dog, sits down here by my feet. And Chrissy, the studio cat, usually is trying to rub against the microphone most of the time. And they are my compadres here. All right. Useless information to you, probably, so let me move on. I'm digressing quickly. All right. Do meetings keep you sober? For those of you who aren't into the recovery thing, well, let me ask you. If you belong to a civic organization, does just attending those meetings, is that what it's all about? Or is there more to it? If you're involved in the Boy Scouts, just going to the leadership meetings and the training conventions and all that, is that all there is to it, or is there more? If you're a churchgoer, does going to church, is that seal your relationship with God? Does that make you spiritual? I doubt it. And perhaps it's a piece of the pie. Sometimes I even wonder that. I think the pie is God. I think he's the whole piece. But people have different views on this topic. And so I put up a recovery poll on our web poll on our webpage at take12radio.com, and then I put it on Facebook as well and some of our social networking sites. And I just asked. This always cracks me up, you guys. I said, do meetings keep you sober? Do 12-step meetings or recovery-focused meetings, do they keep you sober, going to meetings? I says, please answer only yes or no. You know, we are funny human beings, and I don't think this is limited to just people in recovery. We're just funny human beings. We don't follow directions very well. And I am the chief sinner, so to speak. I don't follow directions very well either. So I'm right up there with you guys. But I think sometimes we either don't read what is in front of us, or we have our own agenda, so we just don't follow directions. My directions on this was, please answer only yes or no. Do meetings keep you sober? I would have to say that probably 80% of the people that answered this poll could not just say yes or no. Now, I understand the reason. One of the reasons is because it's hard to say yes without an explanation or no without an explanation. But listen to the question very carefully. It's very simple. Do meetings keep you sober? If you're going by the literature in your mainstream 12-step recovery fellowships, the answer screams at you, no. No. Meetings are not the thing that keep you sober, according to the directions. But we don't follow directions very well, do we? But I thought some of the answers were very interesting. And so I'm going to read some of these to you, and everybody knows I share these on the air, so I'm not going to use any last names. So please answer only yes or no. Do meetings keep you sober? Okay, Pam H. says, I believe God is at every meeting, as I have never left a meeting without feeling better. But no, meetings do not keep me sober. God does. Good. Now, I have to say that if you haven't been to a bad meeting, you probably haven't, you've been blessed. Let's put it that way. 12-step meetings are unapologetically about guiding you into a direction with a relationship with a power greater than yourself to restore you to sanity. If that's not what's going on in a meeting, you're in a bad group. Bottom line. That's just the way it is. So are there bad meetings? You bet. But Pam H. hasn't experienced any of those, and that's awesome. That's awesome. But she says, no, meetings don't keep me sober. God does. Rob F. said yes, along with doing the steps and my higher power. So then I came back and I said, okay, let me be more specific. Do meetings alone keep you sober? Yes or no? So Rob came back and said no. And then he came back and said, well, maybe, but possibly not sober and happy. Thanks, Rob. I love it. Marco said no. Definitely not. Andrew said no. Working the steps does. Lisa L. said no. I don't believe so. For me, they may ease some pressure from the cooker, per se, But my goodness, without the Lord to strengthen us through our step work and his presence alone, I would be lost or worse, relapsed. Pam H. came back and said, I have a personal rule not to go more than 2 weeks without a meeting. If it works, why fix it? No, meetings without the steps would not have worked for this alcoholic. I will be sober on August 10th, 35 years. Why change anything now? Congratulations, Pam, by the way. Carol L. says, no, not drinking keeps me sober. The 12 steps, meetings, and daily turning my will over to my higher power are what allow me to keep the gift. Stanley B. says, yes. Simple yes. Thank you, Stanley. He followed directions. Yes. Sherry A. said, depends on the meeting or group. Have been to some so negative I couldn't wait to leave and get a drink. Thought if this is what sobriety's about, I don't want it. You know, Sherry makes a good point here. Depends on the meeting or group. See, now, if my sobriety is dependent on the meeting or the group, I'm in deep weeds. We're going to talk about what the recovery literature says about this in a minute. It kind of hones in on that point. Stanley B. says, the strength of meetings can help to keep you sober, but not meetings only. Meetings are support. It's the action you learn from the meetings. Interesting. Mandy R. says, no, all of it keeps me sober. All of it. God, the steps, and helping others, and the meeting. Kelly S. says no. Barbara H. says no. Meetings don't keep her sober. And Anastasia, I think is how you pronounce it, says no, the steps keep me sober. That's an interesting statement. I'm going to comment on that here in a minute. Helping other alkies when they reach out, remembering what the blank was helps. Joe T. says no. Dave B. says no. Lynn Case says yes. Lynn Case that's not her last name. Just so don't worry about that. Tim W. says no, God does, and love of life. Like friends like you. Oh, thanks, Tim. Mark G. says meetings are support to the program of action. Meetings are to gain perspective, education, and mechanical application of the program and bring the opportunity for practicing the 12th step. And the program brings about the spiritual awakening as described in the Big Book, one that leaves one recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. Michelle says yes, meetings keep her sober. Roger A. says no, keeping sober gets me to meetings. Interesting. Stephen says not by themselves. Another Stephen says no. Christopher Y. says no. Faith and trust in Christ, Jesus does. John H. says definitely not. Sometimes the meeting is the worst part of my day. Politics, dogma, negativity, condescension, the steps, gratitude for what I have, applying the principles of all areas of my life, trust in my higher power, remembering what happens when I refuse to go to meetings, relapse, is what keeps me sober. That's interesting. If he doesn't go to meetings, he will relapse, but yet he just said going to meetings doesn't keep him sober, definitely not. Interesting. Mark said no. Burns says meetings are the waiting rooms for God's patience. The program, his surgery for the spiritual bypass, so he can breathe new life into and out of broken and addicted hearts. Wow, I really like that. I'm going to say it again. Burns says meetings are the waiting rooms for God's patience. The program, his surgery for the spiritual bypass, so he can breathe new life in and out through the broken and addicted hearts. Wow. That's powerful, Burns. Thank you. Let's see. Angie says, good one, Burns. Rhea says, no, they do not keep you sober. Faith in God. I have seen so many people relapse when they were working the steps. Vincent said, heck no. Shelly B says, meetings are like doctor appointments. If you have cancer, you take chemo. Meetings are an essential part of recovery, but they will not keep you sober. if you're not willing to do the work. Good point. Christopher S. says, nope. Mary M. says, nope. Allie says, laughing my, what off. That's a general black and white scenario question. That's what I'm asking, yes or no. Jeffrey C. says, they sure do help. Kim C. says, yes. Al K. says, nope. Al K. also says, if you miss 7 meetings in a row, that makes 1 week. Or week. Jen says, they say meeting makers make it, right? I think a church program like Celebrate Recovery would work too. It covers a lot more. Let me camp out on that meeting makers make it thing. Listen, if you really think that meeting makers make it and that's the only piece that you're applying in your recovery, you're deceiving yourself. Meeting makers don't make it unless they have a spiritual awakening as a result of those 12 steps. Just going to meetings doesn't do anything, you guys. In fact, it'll probably just tick you off. We got a thwarted idea of what sanity is about and being restored to sanity. Going to meetings doesn't do jack if you're not applying and implementing the principles, the spiritual principles found in the program, not the fellowship. Ronnie S. says, meetings alone will not keep me sober. I have tried it. It also tells me on page 17 of the big book, if meetings alone could keep us sober, everyone that ever came to a meeting would still be sober. Ain't that the truth? Paul J. says, no, the feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement that bonds us, but that in and of itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. Paul, I think you're onto something there, my friend. I really do. What holds us together is this power greater than ourselves, right? Well, I know that to be true. All right, listen, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, more on this topic. Do meeting makers make it? Do meetings keep you sober? Is that the thing that does it for you? If going to meetings only does keep you sober, there may be a very good explanation for that, and I'm going to tell you what that is when we come back. Don't go away.
When I first came to Serenity Springs, I never thought I could stay clean and sober. And then after being through the 12 steps and getting closer to God and just learning how to live, I can't imagine life with drugs and alcohol anymore.
Introducing Serenity Springs Recovery Center, a fully licensed residential drug and alcohol dependence treatment center for men, specializing in helping individuals with substance abuse problems. Addiction is a disease that deteriorates the body, punishes the mind, and destroys the spirit. Addiction needs to be attacked on all 3 of these fronts.
They work the steps, they work them extremely hard. Finding God is a big part, and that's what they did for me. They gave me a life second to none.
Residents live in a resort-style accommodations and are able to participate in numerous on-site activities.
Golf and working out, playing basketball a lot.
Serenity Springs is a unique facility that is committed to providing exceptional individual care in small group settings.
They talk about life beyond your wildest dreams. I never thought that was possible for me, and today I'm living it.
And just being connected. Guys are like my brothers, just a big family.
At Serenity Springs, they want to make a life-changing investment into your recovery. For more information, contact their 24-hour admissions department at 386-423-4540 or visit their website at serenityspringsrecovery.com.
It's really amazing what's happened. I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle.
I had this illness that really made me powerless over alcohol and that insisted that I got drunk. And so I got drunk. It doesn't have anything to do with trying to control it. An alcoholic who picks up the first drink will pick up the second drink. I can't say to anyone, no, don't drink. But I can say that when you decide you don't want to drink, come to AA. The door to AA is always open. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Yes, the music of my youth. George Harrison, My Sweet Lord. got a sneaking suspicion he wasn't talking about Jesus. Love that song, though. Love that guitar. Oh, wow. Just what a talented person. All right. So the topic, do meeting makers make it? Do meetings keep you sober? Is what is doing it for you? I suspect, and I'm going to tell you my opinion. This is just my opinion. Why I believe that some of you may really be convinced that meetings are what are keeping you sober. Yeah, and I'm not going to be talking here to the people that are working the steps, that have a sponsor, that are doing the deal, that have turned their will and their life over to the care of God. I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking to those of you who simply go to meetings. You go to 12-step meetings, you go to support meetings, you go to self-help group meetings, whatever it is, and that's all you do. You go to meetings, you don't do anything else, and for some reason or another, you haven't had a drink in a long time. You haven't put a drug in your body in a long time. And so people may think, well, meetings keep them sober then, right? Well, yes and no. This is what I suspect. When we're talking about somebody who is truly an alcoholic of the hopeless variety or a drug addict of the hopeless variety, what we're talking about is somebody who, left to their own devices, is absolutely 100% powerless over their addiction. What's that mean? It's twofold. And you've heard me talk about it a million times, and I will never shut up about this. It is twofold. It's the allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind. What's the allergy of the body? When you put the substance in your body, your brain chemistry, the way you metabolize the substance is different than anybody else's that is not allergic to the substance. And what happens is you develop a thing called the phenomenon of craving, which means you have little or no control over how much or how often you put that in your body. That's the allergy of the body. That's the phenomenon of craving. And then the second part is the obsession of the mind. This is the piece. This is what happens when you're stone cold sober, when you're clean, when there is no narcotic in your system, when there is no alcohol in your system. You have an obsession that if you drink or if you use, you can do it with control. You can do it with maturity. It's going to be different this time. Nothing bad is going to happen. You are going to be in complete control, and consequences aren't going to, it's going to be different. And you can do this without any problems or issues whatsoever. You're obsessed by it. You think that it's going to be different this time. That happens when you're sober, not when you're drunk, not when you're high. The obsession of the mind and the allergy of the body only happen to people that are actually alcoholic or drug addicted, not the heavy drinker, the partier, or the drug abuser only. There are people that abuse drugs. There are people that abuse alcohol. That's kind of redundant. Alcohol is a drug, right? That do not have the allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind. All they need to do is grow up. Get some basic life skills, get some direction, maybe some accountability, read some good literature, go to meetings, and they'll be fine. They don't need a spiritual awakening as a result of anything because they're not allergic. If going to meetings is keeping you sober, if going to meetings is keeping you clean and free from drug abuse and alcohol abuse, that is wonderful. I am pumped for you. That is great. But you may not be, and you probably are not, an alcoholic or an addict. And if the treatment center you were at was telling you that you are simply because you put it in your system, they are mistaken. They have done you an injustice. You aren't. If you can go to meetings and stay sober and that's all you do, you're not an alcoholic or a drug addict. You're a heavy drinker or an abuser or a partier or whatever, but you just needed some guidance, some basic life skills, and that's all you needed. So please, quit telling everybody that you're a drug addict or an alcoholic if you're not. Why would you put that on yourself? Anyway, that's a lot. You got to do a lot of work if you are. Now, if going to meetings only and is not keeping you sober and you keep relapsing, I'm going to tell you something. You're not doing the work. You're not putting your feet to the fire. You have not had a spiritual awakening as a result of anything. Because if you had, you would experience the state of what we refer to in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous as recovered. It means that the obsession of the mind has been removed. It doesn't necessarily mean that the allergy of the body has changed. If you put it back in your body, you could still have an allergic reaction, but it means that you are no longer obsessed. And that can only happen through the power, or a power that is greater than human, according to the recovery literature of the founders. Not according to everybody, but if we're going by what the literature talks about. So if you're going to meetings, that's all you're doing, and you're staying clean and sober, right on. That's great. But you're probably not an alcoholic of the hopeless variety or an addict of the hopeless variety. You probably just aren't, and that's good news. Okay, so what is the? Let's look at some of the stuff here that the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about. This is the mothership. This is the founders. This is the foundation. Let's say that this whole thing is, well, the foundation is God, but this is the bricks and mortar of the foundation. What it talks about here. In the book Alcoholics Anonymous, in the chapter Working with Others, one of the things that it tells people to make sure they do is remind the people they're working with that his or her recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon their relationship with God. That could be found on page 99 and 100 of the third edition of the AA Big Book. It is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon their relationship with God. That's what it says. You can disagree with that, but that's what it says. So if you're going to follow the program that's laid out in these pages and you disagree with that, then you're not following the program. You're following your program, and that's okay. Just say you're following your program. Say, I don't follow the whole thing in this book. I just follow what I like, and I leave the rest. That's fine. Just be honest about it. But if you're following the instructions, if you're following directions, if you're doing it the way it's laid out, you will be sharing with people. This isn't dependent on other people. It's dependent on a relationship with God. That means your restoration to sanity, your sobriety isn't dependent on meetings, because meetings are made up of people. Is God at the meetings? Yeah. But it's not the meetings. It's our higher power. It's the Creator. It's not the meetings, folks. If meetings were the thing that was going to do it, what happens if you can't get to a meeting? Are you going to drink or use? Some people do. You know why? Because they haven't had a spiritual awakening as a result of doing the steps. Do the steps keep you sober? No. They're a tool. There's no more power in the steps than there is in the meetings. The steps are there to show you and direct you and open your eyes to get you to see that you have a need for a power in your life. But the steps have no power. They're just ink on paper. They have no power. That's a truth. This big book that I've got in front of me, it doesn't have any power. There's only one. That one is God. May you find him now. You hear the urgency in that? That's what the literature says. It says, when we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. It doesn't say when we put ourselves in the hands of the people in the meetings or our sponsor. It said God's hands. Right? That's what it says. Throughout this book, it refers to dependence on a relationship with a power greater than ourselves. And quit going around saying, well, the ocean is a power greater than myself, or electricity is a power greater than myself, or, nature is a power greater than myself. That is not what it's talking about. It's talking about the creator of the universe, the one who has all power, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who created you. A tree didn't create you. The ocean didn't create you. Electricity didn't create you. God created you. The founders and co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous didn't mince words, by the way. We do. We do that a lot. Okay. Here's a couple other remarks or comments on the poll. Do meetings keep you sober? Let's see here. Glenda N says no. Kathy B says no, I rarely go and have been sober since 1976, but the 12 steps are essential. Working them leads to a new life. There you go. And service work is essential, but the world is a big place, and service can be anywhere, excuse me, in a community. Mine now is my Facebook page, Emotional Sobriety. By the way, check that out. Go to Facebook and type in Emotional Sobriety, Kathy B. Judy H. says, yes, how could they not? I'll tell you how could they not, Judy. Meetings are made up of people, and if people are powerless, if you're powerless and I'm powerless, 0 plus 0 is 0. Randall M. says, no, physical sobriety is achieved by not introducing mind-altering chemicals into your body. I disagree, Randall. Physical sobriety, well, no. Okay, all right, I'll give you that. Physical sobriety. By not introducing mind-altering chemicals into your body. I suppose so. But we're talking about emotional sobriety, and it's a spiritual restoration. That's what recovery is all about. He does say, on the other hand, happiness, emotional health, and spiritual growth are enhanced by going to meetings. Enhanced? Yes, but not dependent on. That's for sure. Larry P. says they help. Meetings help. But you get out of it what you put into it by consistently applying all 12 steps, becoming a member of a group, having a sponsor, and staying active and sharing your experience, strength, and hope, and having a higher power outside of yourself. God bless. Andy W. says no. If you need it, some people need to be around others to share and listen. I need both because good isolation is good too. What about you, Monty? So I answered. And this was my comment. Meetings have no more power to keep me sober than the steps do. No human power can accomplish that. Though the meetings play an important part of the recovery process, they are made up of human beings. If you're powerless and I'm powerless, 0 plus 0 equals 0. For the heavy drinker who is not a true alcoholic with the obsession of the mind and the allergy of the body, meetings may be enough. But they are not enough to bring a real alcoholic to a state of recovered that the big book speaks of. Only our Creator is capable of this amazing task, doing for us what we cannot do for ourselves. The steps don't have the ability to keep me sober either. They are a tool God uses to show me my need for a power that can do that. If meetings kept me sober, I'd be in deep weeds if I couldn't get to a meeting. Also, I am thankful that my personal recovery does not depend upon the fellowship's unity, but fully depends upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition, which only God can give me the willingness to maintain. That's been my experience and what the program teaches. That's it in a nutshell for me, you guys. Even working the steps, maintaining my spiritual condition. I don't do that on my power. I do that by tapping into this power that God has. It's about Him. 100%. Sherry says no, meetings will keep us sober. Tracy T says no. Bobby A says no, they keep me clean. Sobriety is defined in the dictionary, comes from steps in service for me. Staying clean is far easier than real change. A little confused by that one, but I do understand what he's saying. Staying clean is far easier than real change, but if there isn't real change, you probably won't stay clean, in my view. Ruth F says no. Jerry P. F says no. Alum from Palm Springs says my higher power keeps me sober. Chai says no. Joe says they got me sober in the beginning. Yeah, I don't think so, Joe. I think God did that. I don't think it was the meetings. They got me through the first several months. That was 37 years ago. I would not be sober today without them. I don't know. There's lots of people who get sober that don't go to meetings. What about those? What about those Alcoholics Anonymous groups, the loner groups? They show up, I guess, at the World Conventions every year. They have a table. But these are folks that have no meetings, they have no internet connection, they have nothing. They're like in the weather stations in the North Pole and Antarctica and stuff like that. They're in the jungles. They have no way to get to a meeting, but they've been touched by God's power. Joe Q says no, but like Joe said, they did in the beginning. Linda J says no, not today. Depends on God. Not taking the first drink. Let's see here. Joe L says no. Yvonne says no. Alan K says they don't hurt. Susan P says yes. Interesting. Cynthia W says I do not go to meetings on a regular basis, but a good meeting is needed now and then. I have almost 11 years clean. I stay connected to my higher power. There it is there. Mike V says in capital letters, which means he's yelling it. Mike has a tendency to use all caps all the time, by the way. For those of you who are on Facebook that like to visit Solutions or Relapse Prevention Facebook page, Mike V, who's been on the show, likes to use capitals. He says, no, meetings do not get or keep me sober. The steps do. Meetings are for fellowship, to share experience, strength, and hope, to connect with other clean and sober people, to find a sponsor to take you through a set of steps so you can go to meetings to help the still suffering addict or alcoholic. Jerry H says no. Will H says no. Paul N says one leg of a three-leg stool. And there's even more on some of the other sites. Interesting, huh? You see what I'm talking about, though? Going to meetings, if that's what's keeping you sober and you're not doing anything else, you're not depending on a power greater than yourself, is wonderful, but you're probably not an alcoholic or an addict. You're probably just an alcohol abuser or a drug user. Zippity doo dah. Yeah, probably ticking off a bunch of you guys, right? Am I ticking off a bunch of you guys right now? It's possible. It wouldn't be the first time. Okay, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll wrap this thing up, all right? Don't go away.
Men, women, and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia exists to help people recover from addictions by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others. To speak with an addiction specialist, call 1-855-652-4325. That's 1-855-652-4325. Or visit our website at www.therapia.net. Therapia Addiction Healing Center, restoring lives one step at a time.
Hey there, this is the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio. You know, many of us have attended all sorts of addiction symposiums and treatment conventions, and so much of the time we walk away from these events feeling like we've been preaching to the choir just one more time. May I suggest a different kind of substance abuse and addiction treatment event? The Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference, February 5th through the 8th, 2015, at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center. The current field of substance abuse and addiction treatment has been evolving for almost 8 decades now, and during this time we have seen many important developments as well as many failed experiments. It seems time to step back and conduct a professional inventory of where we have been, where we are now, and where we are heading. Well, this conference will provide a forum that encourages professional dialogues of controversial issues, showcases innovative and creative treatment approaches, and offers an overview of the field and its future. For more information, visit www.theevolutionofaddictiontreatment.com. Join me and many of my guests as we attend the Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference, February 5th through the 8th, at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center, 2015.
Can't take it, because I'm hungry for those good things, baby. Hungry through and through. I'm hungry for that sweet life, baby, with a real life girl like you.
Paul Revere and the Raiders, the flip side of Cherokee Nation, the 45. Remember 45s, you guys? Remember 78s? 78s, they called them platters. They were like a 1/4 inch thick, and if you threw one at somebody, it could take their head off. Ah, those were the good old days, right? Back when music was music. All right. All right. So controversial, yes. Do you mean to keep you sober? Some people are going to just say I'm absolutely crazy. That's fine. I probably am. And what can I say? What can I say? Right? I try to go with what the literature says, what the founders, what the mothership has been teaching when it comes to recovery, when the success rate of recovery from alcoholism and addiction was the highest. Before it was all watered down and mishmashed with, platitudes and little sayings and so forth. That's what I try to do here at Take 12 Recovery Radio. And there are people of faith out there that don't like what I do. They think I'm involved in a cult. And then there's others of you who think I'm a religious fanatic. That's okay. You can think what you want. You have your right to be wrong. I have my right to be wrong. Maybe when this thing is all said and done and we stand before our Maker, we're all going to realize that we were all just a little bit off our rockers, huh? Maybe? Who knows? All right. Well, I think I really think that if we lean on God and not on our own understanding, He'll light our path, you guys. He'll light our path. And if we're dependent on each other for the power that only our Creator can give us, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in major, major trouble. There are people that are real, true, live alcoholics who needed a spiritual awakening as a result of those steps to stay sober, to get sober, to be restored to sanity. And they're sick and tired of listening to the BS going on in meetings. And we're losing them. They're going on to mature and grow and prosper in other areas of their lives. But we're losing them because they're sick and tired of the BS. I don't want that to happen. Do you? I don't. We need them folks, right? So if you're one of them, don't bail. Don't bail. I've had to bail from an unhealthy home group, but I didn't bail from the fellowship. Not a good idea. Not because it keeps me sober, but because we're supposed to be about the business of helping our fellows and serving our Creator, giving back what has been so freely given to us. It's so vitally important to do that. All right, my friends, this has been the Sober Portland radio show for this month here on Tuesday. By the way, I failed to mention that earlier. Kind of a special broadcast for this month's show, or for this week's show here on Tuesday. The normal Sober Portland radio show, broadcasting on location from somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, is once a month here on Tuesday's page. If you're listening on the Bill Post Radio Network, Bill Post is coming up next. Remember our email address, take12radio@comcast.net. To visit our website, take12radio.com. Until next time, this is the Monty Man. I'm wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.